Uplift the customer with your response. If you pull that off, that goes so many miles. When somebody's angry, and then you sit down there and say something positive to them, it kind of calms down the spirit. Now, the problem is some people, no matter what happens, you can't ever appease them. But the reality is that if they have a hard time arguing because you say, yes, here you go, okay, that changes things. So an adjustment is a written reply to customer complaint. To rectify a wrong, regain the confidence, and promote future business. Now, a lot of businesses, they hesitate, they waffle on this step. If you sit down and you deal with this step, you can win other business in the future. So it depends what the impression you're trying to leave. 2 reasons: contract and tort law protects consumers for the recovery of damages. That's a big deal. So you have tort law behind that, and most organizations really want to satisfy a customer and retain their business. There's 3 goals in an adjustment message: rectify the wrong, if there is one, regain the customer confidence, and then promote further business. You know, there's a story, and it's a Nordstrom story that became part of their corporate story culture. Some gal at a store in Michigan, they went and they were talking to a customer who was returning a pair of leather boots. And the leather boots were 11 years old, worn and beat up, and the customer is trying to return them at the Nordstrom, except for the fact Nordstrom had never in its history carried that brand of leather boot. They simply had never had it. The customer's going on, they bought them, they recalled the exact date and everything else. They're going on and on and on. So the customer, the clerk at the store, they were told, whatever the customer says, you make them happy. She accepted the return, refunded the person for boots that they never once sold, gave them the full price of what those boots would be in today's world, okay? And the person claimed that you just stopped carrying them, and ended up that 3 days later, the person came back to the Nordstrom store. They spent the gift certificate that she issued and $350 more. So she was vetted at the annual meeting, saying what a great person she was, because she really went above and beyond, listened to somebody for accepting a return that they never accepted before or sold. So that being said, it's a pretty incredible story. That customer was uplifted by the response, even though it was an outrageous request. The Nordstrom, they have an outrageous level of customer service. Now, they're also pretty expensive too, but that being said, if you want to sit down and have quality service with quality items, that seems like a good place to go. Positive adjustment messages: identify previous correspondence in the topic. Response, you tell them what it is. Opening, grant the request immediately. If you wait till the end, they'll be angry all the way till the end. So grant it immediately. Okay, provide details complying with the request. Okay, your refund will be issued in the next 10 business days. Expect that to happen. Apologize, but don't admit negligence. I'm so sorry that our tool sat down there, broke, and the piece sat down there and gave you a giant cut right next to your eye. You could have been blind. Don't say those things. Just apologize. We're sorry that the tool broke. Okay, end positively with a forward-looking thought. Confidence about future business, include a sales promotion, whatever is appropriate. You want to avoid referring to the unpleasantness that just took place. Here's one of the coolest things you could possibly do: toss in a gift certificate. I was, early on in my career, I was a retail store manager, and a customer called me at 9:15 on a Monday morning, and the store opened at 9:30. I had all of my sales team there. We're going over all the items that began that day with the sales, and I was trying to be a very clever store manager. I sat there and hang on, let me get this, because customers are important. And I answered the phone. The gal wanted me to go out into the store, check on something, and find it right there on the spot. I said, I'll call you back in 20 minutes. I want it now. I want to know. I said, I'll call you back in 20 minutes. And then she got mad. She slammed on the phone. I went back to my meeting. My boss shows up 2 days later, and he says, okay. And he asked me what happened. I told him what happened. He took out my gift certificate booklet, and he wrote out a check from the store for a gift certificate for $25 and mailed it to her. Now, she was wrong. I was ticked over what happened. I was trying to be a good store manager. It was really, I should never have answered that phone, not until 9:30. I kicked myself multiple times. The sales staff had a good laugh at on my behalf. So, but that said, that person spent the gift certificate and then came back to the store 3 months later after going shopping at another one of our stores about 7 miles away. Those things happen, but it was an adjustment messages. That gift certificate got spent right away. It was a big deal. Review good news upfront, present it immediately. Don't express anger over having to give it, and avoid a half-hearted response. We're giving this to you, not because we have to, but because we're good people. No, we don't want that. Okay, so explain compliance in the body, open up body, use it to explain how you're complying with them, seek to regain that trust because it's been broken, avoid emphasizing negative words, keep your message positive and upbeat. Should you apologize or not? Well, sometimes it's not your fault. Okay, so you got to figure out, attorneys discourage apologies, fearing they'll trigger lawsuits. Some states they have laws that you can't apologize and be sued over it. But that being said, okay, some states don't. So the attorneys advise against it. It reminds them about the unpleasantness. Sometimes you just want to sit down and say, here you go, we're going to make this adjustment for you. And so you can apologize for their feelings, especially if it's verbal. But apologizing in writing, that changes the thing, because all of a sudden now it could be used against you, and you may not want to do that. Avoid using negative words or phrases. Don't blame the person. If you would use this correctly, don't do stuff like that. At this point, you've already given up. You already said they're going to take care of it and hope you get their business back. Don't blame somebody in your organization. Don't blame the board of directors. Don't blame the president. Sit down there and take responsibility. We call this the I concept of management, and we'll cover this in detail later on. But if it's your department, okay, don't blame, my boss is making me do this. I think my boss is an idiot. However, I'm still doing it. That would be a bad thing to say. The president of the company said we have to do this, so I'm doing it. That would be a bad thing, because you're not taking responsibility for it. Take responsibility for it as part of the decision of the organization, but you are representing the organization at that point. It's the I concept, I referring to you as the individual making that statement. Don't blame people, make certain you do that, and don't make unrealistic promises. This will never happen again. Don't say things like that, because you really don't know what the future holds. So use sensitive language, show confidence in the closing. You might mention the product in a favorable light, okay, recommend something new. In the future, you may want to try this as well. Express appreciation, that's a big deal, and refer the desire for service and satisfy them. So when they finish, do they have a warm and fuzzy feeling? How will they remember what you said? In a positive way or a negative way? You want to make certain on that adjustment response that you are uplifting that customer. Take care.